Okay, we are on a little bit, a few seconds early and waiting for others to join us. We should have done our invocation and intention setting on this side of the recording, right? So we set the intention, just so it's here for the record, that that we be clear channels for those who attend and come and participate live, and at later dates to come to a place where they really begin to love and accept themselves. So that's what we are intending for all of you out there. And what else did we intend? Did we intend anything else? Or is that enough?
I think that's good. I like that. Part. I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
The whole point is to love yourself, right?
Yeah, it's true. It is. It is. And that I love how you set the stage there. And just so that we've got a few people coming on, I want to welcome everyone. Hi, Wendy Ellen. Gloria was here when I logged on with a message. She's looking forward. Shay is here. Welcome, guys. Welcome. And today is our projector conversations. And basically we do these conversations, all three of us are projectors, and we do these conversations periodically. And now that we're kind of in the new energy of 2021, we'll probably be doing them a lot more frequently to really shed light on issues that human design projector energy types need to become aware of and work with as you're working with your human design experiment. So our topic today is recognition. And we have some talking points, and I'm sure that those of you who are joining us feel free to chat in the comments with any questions or comments or wisdom that you have. And I asked Doc, do you want to kind of set the stage for this series of conversations that we're going to be doing in terms of the context of what it is to be a projector? I know you said it so brilliantly when we were warming up. So can you pull that out again?
Let's try.
Okay.
So I think context is really important. The context for me is human design. That's what we're going to talk about. It's the science of differentiation. It's really the science of how we are different. So, not how we are the same, not how the world wants us to be and wants us to look. Our parents, our partners, our bosses, our insignificant other, whatever, that wants to homogenize us. That's the human design lingo for making us the same. And we're all so very different. So that's the beginning. It's this bit of recognition that we are different. And that recognition is not something that's so very esoteric or hard to understand or hidden away. It's really recognizing us for our differences. So we'll be talking about that, and it plays into the larger picture that we're in the middle of. And I know all of us are just like, what? Do you remember Back to the Future? And the guy with the wild hair, Doc. Hey. Go anywhere, but don't go to 2020. Go look at the video, you'll see it.
He knew.
Okay, so we are in the process of changing from what's called a cross of planning, which really has to do with this the bargain, the this channel of the part seeking the whole, the channel of community. It's tribal. It's about the bargain. If you do this for me, I'll do that for you. And so within that, there's the idea that somebody else is going to take care of us within the bargain. And that's beginning to break down, and we can see that breaking down everywhere. It's just across the board. It's not working. So, what do we do? Because within that, we're going, well, who do we trust? I mean, we don't even know who to listen to give us correct information anymore. Where are we going to get that? And I believe that and Rob would talk about this. He has a whole series. You can go to Jovian, and it's called Rising Phoenix. It's in the resources section on the videos, but it's worth looking at. He talks about the sleeping phoenix rising in 2027, and that sleeping phoenix is about us understanding how we navigate this with our inner authority. That's how we're going to navigate this thing. And that's why human design is such a beautiful tool for that. And that's what I think we're hoping to share with you. And in addition, with projectors, we started a little over 200 years ago on our ascendancy. And this is the place where we really do our work, our guidance in this process to help people to navigate this very difficult time. So, how do we become more our differentiated selves to serve because we serve the other? And we start that with a recognition, just a really basic recognition that projectors are different. That's where we start. It's not really hard. It's not this esoteric hidden away thing. It's a very basic uh, part of the process that we have to recognize we're different before anybody else will. So that's how I set the stage. I think that's what we're going to talk about is how we're different and how do we get to that and how do we bring it forward.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I know that there are some people who are watching who may not know what their energy type is. And in the description box with this video, there are some resources where you can go and enter your birth information, your birth time, and get a copy of your chart. And on that chart, you will see type or energy type, and that will tell you what your energy type is. Uh, so we're talking specifically about projectors, two projectors, four projectors, or two people who love projectors and want to know more about them. But if you're not sure if you're a projector or not, just go in the description and you'll see some options for how you can run your human design chart and get a good look at it.
Mm.
So we have some questions to keep us on. Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Um, yeah, so go down to the description box and actually get that if you want to run a copy of your chart. And welcome Heather as well. So we have some questions to keep us on track on recognition, because as we were talking about this topic, we have a tendency to kind of uh, uh, jump around a little bit or move forward, move ahead a little bit. We want to make sure that we stay grounded and focused in the one topic of recognition. So to start it off with, the first thing that we really want to consider or discuss here is what is the relationship between recognition and invitation? Because, if you're new to human design, you've gotten your chart and you know that you have this strategy. It says on your chart, strategy is to wait for invitations, which is a whole topic within itself that we are going to cover. But I think we ought to talk a little bit about what is that? What is the relationship? How does recognition relate to invitation? So, Christy, Doc, you want to jump in?
Christy, you had you were expressing to me the other day this idea of the exchange. That might be tell me tell me your experience with the invitation, not to go into invitation, but how it applied to recognition for you.
Like when it feels like I've been recognized versus not been recognized.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I think for me in my experiment, what I've realized is I can feel the difference in when somebody's recognizing me before they give me an invitation, or just in general in conversation. I can feel the difference in my body because I'm fully present and recognizing myself, for one thing. And but the exchange part of it is for me, when I'm being recognized and there's an energetic exchange and there's energy coming from me to the other person, it feels like it feels more like a figure eight. Like the energy just flows. It's like given to the one person and it comes back to me, and it feels really nourishing and good when it comes back, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when I'm not feeling recognized in the exchange of something, it feels like I always use the word debt, but it feels like like everything's just falling flat to the ground, and it's not bringing life. It's not doing anything. It feels like dead weight. And I feel more depleted. Like energetically, I feel more depleted when it's not in recognition and being received.
Yeah. So recognition, as you were talking, I was thinking recognition is like the currency and the currency of energy, of the energy exchange. And one thing that projectors often get confused about is this whole invitation thing, and feeling not understanding what that is, and we'll like I said, that's a whole topic in itself. We'll go into the nuances of that in another live stream, but the thing I want to kind of illuminate here is that waiting for invitations is for those big things in life, like those big turning points that will set you on a course in your life. And, that doesn't happen every day. So what's really important is to understand this currency, this energetic currency, and this exchange that we have with other people that is understood as recognition, because this is kind of one of our guideposts and one of the things that we really have to have awareness around in order to be able to function at our best on a day-to-day basis, while we're waiting for maybe some big invitations here and there. So did I cover that and build on that okay for you guys? Any other thoughts?
I think what we started with, and it's so important to recognize, is that we have two crystals of consciousness. If you think about that for a second, there's a personality crystal of consciousness. So the personality has a consciousness, but so does the design body, or our body has a design crystal of consciousness. So there's a consciousness there that, and they work together. And so often we're thinking so much, we're not paying attention to how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd brought this up, Sandy, earlier, and I so appreciated what you were talking about. It impacted me in my body. I could really feel what you were saying about um, your one of your first recognitions and how it felt in your body. Can you pull that up again? About feeling tired and
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. So
and
this kind of
playing
goes.
ball with white faces.
Oh yeah, the white places. So
Yeah,
so when
white.
you get your human design chart, you'll see that they're colored in places and there are white places. So this is and we call this like the white places in traditional human design, the not self. These are where you're taking in outside energy and amplifying it, maybe distorting it, and it can really keep you from feeling who you are that is here to be recognized. So one of the first things that one of the first steps that I took in terms of like uh, embodying my own self-recognition was, or the revelation that I had, I guess, is the revelation of when I don't feel like myself.
Mhm.
And when I started to articulate that, like probably a lot of, I was newly married in those early days, and uh, weeding through my design, trying to make sense of it, trying to embody it, all of that, and uh, not understanding a lot of times why specifically in my chart, because I was still pretty new to understanding what these white spaces are, what the undefined centers are. That's what the white spaces are, the shapes. Uh, Not really understanding specifically how I was being affected, but I'd have this overall feeling of either being tired or like lightheaded or exhausted or cranky. Cranky was a really good one, which is the
Mhm.
cousin to
Mhm.
bitterness. So,
Yeah,
which is
bitter.
the
And
not
better.
self theme for projectors is the bitterness. So cranky, bitterness, bitter, all of that, and that's when I would start to articulate, like, if there was somebody else in the room, usually my husband, listen, I don't feel like myself. And sometimes he would already know that because he'd look at me, and especially if I was cranky or bitter, and go, "What is wrong with you?" So, and when I started to just stand in that, in my own, the acknowledgement that I don't feel like myself, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to go into the bedroom, meditate, be alone, because that was one of the first things I was taught by the person who introduced me to human design. Go and discharge all of that energy that you've taken in the white spaces in your chart. So I'd go out for a walk or something, but it was me taking my power back in a certain way by recognizing when I didn't feel like myself, when I was in the so-called in human design terms, the not self, when I burned myself out, when I overstressed myself, when I'd done too much work, all of that stuff that we projectors tend to do because we don't know when enough is enough. um, and that was like the first thing, the first uh, awareness that really started to get me grounded in my design. And it
Mhm.
was like without me being able to recognize when I didn't feel like myself, I would never be able to recognize who I am on this side of my chart that's colored in, where what my defined energy centers are about, what my defined gates and channels are about on in my definition. So for me, that was like life changing right there. And I know that that
Mhm.
can be advice for just about anybody, or a guideline for just about anybody who's looking to not even regardless of your energy type, anybody who's looking to differentiate your uniqueness. but for projectors in particular, I think it's so important because of the way that our aura operates. And Doc or Christy, you want to talk about how the aura operates and how that relates to recognition?
Sounds
Well,
like a Doc
I want
answer.
to piggyback on your revelation, because my first revelation was uh, go to bed before you're tired.
Mm.
Yes.
It's like something so simple, but it really changed my life pretty profoundly. It was stunning that I realized that I kept pushing myself until I was just exhausted, and then I would fall in bed, and I'd wake
Mm-hmm.
up in the morning still exhausted.
Mm.
And so I went around, for a long time with coffee and energy drinks,
Mm.
where it was just like, well, I'm supposed to be a manifestor generator.
Yeah.
That's that's I was so deep in the not self that I was just going. Oh, I can make it happen. I can make this. You know, you can be anything you want to be. And while that's true to an extent, what I realized was going to bed before I was tired allowed me to think more clearly. I was less irritable, less grumpy. Oh, I was such a grumpoid. Oof, oof. Um, so I think these are things that we recognize about ourselves to begin with as projectors. Uh, if if you're having the question, what's wrong with me? Why can't I keep up? Why am I always dragging my ass around? Uh, you know, well, you might look and see if you're a non what's called a non energy type, but it's really a non sacral being. It's not a non energy type. It's a non sacral being, because we're the most complex type of the four types. There can be so much variance and nuance in projectors. You can be a pure projector with absolutely no energy centers at all defined. They're all white. The root, the sacral, the solar plexus, and the ego center. Or you can be like me. You can be an ego um, uh, energy center. I'm an energy projector. Or you can be a mental projector, only defined above the throat, right? So it's important to know what kind of projector you are so you can recognize how you function. Um, so these little nuances we'll talk about a little later, but recognition starts, I think, with these very basic physical things. Like I was saying, the design crystal, where we go, okay, my body functions different than a generator or a manifester or a manifesting generator or a reflector. And that's a basic recognition to have. What does that mean for you? Then how do you integrate that into your experiment? So um, you've been working with this, Christy. How did you integrate it into your experiment once you begin to feel the difference?
Specifically with like just the auric part of it and the energy levels and all that.
Or your body? How did it feel in your body? Like
Mm.
you were talking about uh, the energy exchange of invitation, and I
Mhm.
find that um, I it feels to me like I'm bumping into something.
Yeah, like a wall.
like there's a resistance, a real physical. It's wears me out. I'm having a conversation with someone, and it's wearing me out.
Yeah.
When there's not recognition.
Yeah.
When there's not recognition, exactly. And
Yep.
so that was a design, uh, our physical form recognition. So you've told me a number of things about that. Yeah. Tell me more.
Tell me more about that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's when you're saying that, what was actually coming up for me is I can actually still, because I'm a coach and so I work with people all the time, and I can still sometimes feel that wall energetically when I have been invited. Sometimes if somebody is just not open to
But don't go there.
you're like, oh, there's a wall. But I think I really do feel that energetic wall when not just with other people in relationships when you aren't recognized or there's not an invitation, but just in general with projects or things that I'm doing. If it's not real, if I'm not working out of my true self, I can feel the difference between like being in my definition and being in my not self, where you're just kind of working with all of that like force energy, like that you're forcing things to happen. That feels like just pushing energy straight up against a wall, right? Instead of when we are really, really paying attention and centered in our bodies and in our design, things just flow through us and happen so effortlessly. And you can actually get done with something and feel, not drained. It doesn't feel like you just, worked so hard to create something. So it feels to me also like heaviness and lightness, like a heavy sense, and I get done and I want to take a nap versus, that could just be a conversation with somebody sometimes, right? And then or the versus like just a lightness, and walking away feeling kind of energized and uplifted.
Wow,
And I find, and to speak to the whole like going to bed early thing, just to reiterate on that too, what I find for myself, and not just on going to bed, but when I push past my energy level in any way like that, for me, now I need another hour to unwind so my energy it's like I'm in a deficit. So now I'm like my adrenaline is going and like all of that has to calm down before I can then rest when I've pushed past. Whereas if I can pay attention more to my energy and go, okay, I just need to go like maybe meditate for 20 minutes or just lay down in the bed for 20 minutes and reset, and instead of pushing past all of those times when I'm feeling tired, it's a lot harder on the back end to get back and get rest, period.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good time to talk about the aura and how it worked. Because what I hear you saying, what comes up for me, and is we have an unusual process that we do as projectors, and it's important to recognize this. Um, and I'm not just throwing the word out there uh, just to use it. Okay, it's important to recognize or be cognizant of the fact that we are built to work one on one. We're not we're not built to work with a bunch of different people. If you go to a party and you see the wallflowers over there, projectors. They're not in a group talking with six people, laughing and carrying on. They're the folks doing one on ones, or they're off over there by themselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're meant to work. We're meant to work that way because our aura both penetrates and it absorbs. It's extremely absorbent. I um, have heard some of the older, the people who've been in design for a very long time, Alok and Dirk Nellens and some other folks, and they all give voice to this idea. I did not realize how much a projector takes in. I mean, it's just enormous, and it's important to understand that we are extremely sensitive because we are meant to take in um, the conditioning of the other. That's how we guide. But that's how we begin to understand the other so that we can guide them.
Mhm.
This is how we work. But if we don't recognize that dynamic, then it can be extraordinarily draining. Like Christy was saying, a conversation with somebody, and I can go away going, man, I got to lay down. I just, it's too much for me. And I'm thinking, I don't know if that goes on for you guys. I'm curious. I've never asked projectors, but I come away with this. There's something wrong with me. I've
Well, I'm
had
not
that
tired.
thought. What? How come? I just had a conversation. Why do I feel like I'm exhausted? Right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, I'm very physical. I work out a lot, and I'm in good shape, and blah blah blah. But I just talked to this person who's a generator. And so I got all juiced up on their juice, and now I'm
Mhm.
worn out. And now, like Christy said, I'm so buzzed I can't even lay down, even though I need to,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
because I took all of that in. And
Mhm.
it sounds it's kind of weird to think about, but I really offer this to you as a real thing. Would you eat that person? Would you?
Yeah, because
Don't go,
because that
don't
our
lie.
aura, I mean, our aura goes right into the G center, right into the seat of the soul here, and it's like we're let me take in your soul. That's
Mm,
intense.
That's intense.
yes,
And if
it
the
is.
if it's not the right energy, which we can recognize through recognition, it's like poison.
Mhm.
It's like
Yes.
eating poison.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the hardest things for me at the beginning of my experiment when uh, Ra was talking about this idea of who you're with for a projector is everything.
Mhm.
And, you know, I've been working a long time down this road. So 12 step was part of my process at one point. Uh, And the 12 step program has to do with stopping using the drug. Now, what that means is most of the people that a person has a relationship with has to do with the drug,
Mhm.
not really you. And so when you stop using, they stop being your friend. And so you lose a lot of people right
Mhm.
off the bat. And that was so difficult for me because I realized a lot of these people that I've been allowing in and me being in their aura, it was hurting me bad. And I
Mhm.
needed to stop. I needed to stop it. But my
Mhm.
not self was uh, I was so in the not self that it took me a while to do that. And it was very uncomfortable. But when I recognized what you're saying, Sandy, about it being, um, you know, junk food or
Mhm.
worse, poison,
Mhm.
you know, uh, and
Yeah.
now I only have its quality is what I would say. It's the
Yeah.
quality of the person, not
Mhm.
how many. And even though I'm a 4-6 and it's all about networks and being able to work with other people, I have to be very discerning
Mhm.
about that.
And discernment is really another way to look at this concept of recognition as well. You know, the discernment is key to understanding whether or not, when you get an invitation, whether or not it's a correct invitation for you, which takes us into your decision making authority, which is another topic that we'll talk about at another time. I just want to just break here for a second because Wendy has some questions, or she has a comment. She says this, when we're talking about going into the G center and getting drained and not eating the right energy. She says this can happen with just energy with no words being exchanged, and she tries to recognize, separate, and filter to preserve her battery juice. Yeah, and you know, that is like the nature of the auric field of our energy field. So Wendy, you really perceive that. You know, your perception is right on there, because we are really talking about aura, energy exchange, as opposed to the nuts and bolts of verbal communication. Yeah, and then and I also wanted to go back, Wendy, because you said that you do not have your birth time, and for anybody that doesn't have your birth time and you want to run a chart, what I normally do is I start at noon on the day that you were born, and then I sort of run charts every hour or so back and forth, and get an idea of what changes and what doesn't, and then sort of go from there as to what you feel, and then that may be where you come in for a reading and try to work that out with, you know, one-on-one with someone. And then Wendy also says, oh, what's the G center? Her question was about the G center. And we're going to show our charts here in a little bit to talk about how we can really recognize ourselves, or recognize when someone's recognizing us and when they're recognizing maybe the not self. So the G center, when we pull up the chart, you'll see a diamond that's in the center of the chest. It would be kind of like the heart chakra in the seven-centered chakra system. And it's the place that holds our magnetic monopole, which is like the magnetic resonance that attracts life to us and us to life. So and I call it the seat of the soul, because we don't want to get into that, but it is like it's the identity center, and it's the center for how you experience love, how you experience direction, because it's magnetic. It's a magnetic resonance of attraction. So that's why I call it the seat of the soul. Yeah. So let's see. Most of their long-term friends are energy vampires. They voluntarily fell away. Yeah, it's funny how that happens when you take back your energy. And Joe says that sometimes she wishes she wasn't a projector, tired, loner, and have a different perspective on time compared to generators. So,
wow, that's such a good point. I really want to say something about that. Projector time, super slow. It's slower than anything you can imagine. You think it's slow. No, it's really slow. it's slower than anything you've thought about. Truly. I've been deep in my experiment for the last 2 years, and I have continued to slow down from being a sloth, a three-toed sloth. You ever seen those guys? Like they move like that. To a slow loris. Go look up slow loris. LORS. It's cute. It's
and
really
yet,
cute. It's so slow. Yeah.
and it's efficient.
Yes.
Because the flip side of that is when you are able to slow into your own rhythm. there's this really cool thing that happens where when we wait for it, you wait for the right time, the right energy, that thing that needs to get done, that's yours to do, you do it like that.
So I
Yeah.
think the spirit animal for the projector is a heron.
Mm-hmm.
You know how it stands? It just stands there. And you watch it, it never moves. And it's so efficient. It what it does is it waits for the invitation. Really, it's waiting for the food to come to it. It just stands there till it happens. And they recognize the right place to go stand.
Mm.
This is so important for a projector. Place, people, these are important things to put yourself in the right energy spot for you. And then the the fish comes, and if you've ever watched a heron, it happens so fast you can't even see it. They spear whatever it is, a toad, a fish, a snake, bang, it's
Sure.
in and done, and they're still. Again, just like Sandy was talking about, that's us. Yeah, this is a commonality that I have heard from many projectors because I kept asking, do you have this rhythm where you just hang out and then all of a sudden, bang, 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 it's done?
Yeah.
If that's
Yeah.
you, yeah,
Yeah. That
recognize that, honor it, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest example I have of that is that really made brought that home for me was um, there was one time when I was laying on my bed half the day, searching on Google for ways to get your house to clean itself. And a friend, now this is recognition and invitation. A friend I hadn't heard from in a while texted me. She said, "Well, what are you doing?" And said, um, "Well, I'm laying here on the bed, trying to get my house to clean itself." She said, "Well, I haven't seen you in a while. I'd really like to hang out with you. Do you want to get together in a couple of hours for dinner?" And that recognition of, "Hey, I haven't seen you. I want to have your company," and then the follow on mini invitation of, let's go to dinner, was enough to like get me up, have the whole house clean, out the door in 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that person is actually a generator. So it's like she offered me
Mm.
Energy.
her energy
Yeah.
resources through this invitation to come out and have dinner, something that's really fun for me. I love to go out to dinner, and I hadn't seen her in a while, and we always have a good time. And that was enough to just spark me into action for the little bit of time that I needed to get the house clean and leave.
Mm. Hmm. You know, the thing that you bring up there is the magic projector generator relationship.
Mm.
It is the thing because the most important thing for them is the use of their energy, and we can guide them in efficient use of their energy. That dynamic is so. I have several. I have a manifesting generator. Um, in our relationship, I have a relationship with this gentleman that has spanned decades, and um, what I provide him. That was the another thing I had to recognize is I felt like a parasite.
Mm.
Yeah, because he's out there work, 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 and I'm not doing anything.
Mm. Yeah.
But he's 4323. You know, the Freak to Genius channel, and this guy is a polyglot. In other words, he speaks 5 languages. He has a PhD in plant physiology. reforest the earth. He's a truly master martial artist, 50 years in the art, um, has schooled himself in um, history and philosophy, classically trained himself. So he's writing a book on the gods that is stunning, but nobody else can understand a word he says but me.
Wow.
So you gotta laugh about that because he's over there. He's working all his stuff, right? Work, 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 work. Create, 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 create. Initiate, initiate. And me, I'm just listening, asking
And getting
questions.
it.
And that is worth every bit of exchange for him. And it took me a while to value myself, to recognize that by being me and being a projector and just being with someone is extremely potent.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
it took me a long time to realize that just my being there with someone is an extraordinary event for them. I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I'm talking about the energy exchange of what we give by being a projector to the other.
And being
That
present in
being present.
grounded
Yes.
in 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 our own design. I think we're leading up to looking at our charts, but I have one more thing to add to that as an example, because I am a guide for a woman who has a school where it's called the Self-Discovery Wisdom School, and she uses intentional creativity to and human design and a couple of other modalities to really get people, and creative projects to get people into feeling into themselves and opening themselves up. And she's a manifesting generator. So one of the
Mm.
things we do, because we're doing a little alumni project with the people that didn't want to leave, and it's around a book and all of that. So they're reading the book, and before we get on for the group experience, where I come in and do something with human design, and then she has to create an art project to go with that. We meet, and we just did this the other day, and it was so much fun because she's the doer, right? So she's got the laptop out and she's taking notes and all of that, and I'm just rattling on, we're picking out points in the book, and I start rattling on. I have 6447 channel, which is a channel of abstraction. So I get to rattle, and I get to kind of put my ideas out. And every once in a while, she'll respond with like something, like, well, what about this? And, oh, yeah, that's good. and, and then eventually this whole thing comes together, and she's just typing it out. She's typing the notes. And it's like, we have this exchange because she's so open, and she recognizes me for what I bring when I'm in that flow of me being just me. And it's just incredible. And then I get the notes back because she's done the typing. And then I can fashion that the way I want to for a presentation. But it's like, it's just, and both of us just look at each other and we're like, man, this is just, it's like magic. And that's what it's like when you're
Yes.
being as a projector, and you're recognized for who you're being as yourself by the right people who can benefit from that. It's like this magic that happens.
Right. So this is a great time. Would you put up your chart, Sandy?
Yeah,
That's a
let me.
great way to look at that. Sandy has the 6447. So it's the channel of abstraction. So on one side you have a gate of confusion. which
Hold on, that's
is,
yours. Hold on, let me find mine. Can you see it there?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, let me
yeah, there
see if
it is.
I can.
So can you point
Okay,
out up there at the top, that
at the
channel up
top,
there?
here's the head center at the very top in the yellow, the ajna. Remember, we were talking about definition. So these two centers are defined. The inspiration center at the head and the thinking center in the ajna. 6447 runs between the two and kind of feeds and fuels and colors how I experience all of that thinking stuff, right? And it's all about the abstract, all about, I got to pull all the pieces out of the puzzle box. I have no idea how it's going to come together. And then if I just sort of root around in it for a while, something comes together and it's like one big whole download of an image and a picture. It's wild. And it's maddening when I'm trying to when I'm pressurizing myself to try to make sense of things, because it's not for me, it's for other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find you to be a great outer authority. It's so
Mm.
fun. Christy and I when we get together with you, we remark, you'll we'll say, Sandy, babble, because because that's when you pull the puzzle box out and toss all the puzzle pieces down, and you just talk about, oh, look at that piece and this piece, and it's shaped
Yeah.
like that.
Look at
That
that.
one's over there. That one's that color. And then at some moment, and we never know quite when, you connect all those dots, and it's so fun to watch that happen. It's something I really appreciate about you. And so when I say that, and I go, Sandy, will you babble? To me, that's recognizing you. How does that feel to you?
It's really freeing for me, because uh, it's not just annoying babble. It's being invited out of me, or recognized as part of a valuable process that is needed by you and whoever asked for it. So it's very empowering in that respect.
I
Yeah.
think that you just said the key words to me, is that the invitation is actually an inviting out of you something.
Mhm.
It's asking you to bring forth.
Mhm.
The invitation is to bring yourself forward,
Mhm.
and we're connecting the invitation now with the recognition, but uh, a, an invitation that's correct for you is one that recognizes your definition, because
Hmm.
that's who you are,
So I've
and
put up,
according to design, right?
right. And I've put up the flip side, what we were talking about in the white spaces, the not self, all of that, of my chart. And here is the sacral center defined, that center that generators and manifesting generators have, the emotional center, the will center, the G center, where of love, identity, and direction, the throat center, all of that for me. When I'm being recognized for any of this, that's a cue to me, or a clue to me, that I'm not. I'm not uh, in my own true frequency and energy. And this was like a revelation really early in my uh, human design experiment. And shortly, a year or two into my human design experiment, I was working in a big spa. And maybe some of you've heard this story before, but that's where I was taking in, like, there were like 60 people on staff on a Saturday, so I'm in all of that all of those auras, and and working with clients one-on-one, and and I'd get all hyped up, and sometimes I get so hyped up on energy that some if I worked in the morning, somebody would talk me into working a second shift, so I'd be 2 6-hour shifts. But I'd be checking to my body. I wasn't really fine tuning then, I was kind of new to this, and I'd check in and I'd feel good, because I was taking in all of this sacral energy that everybody was, most 70% of the people there had, that they were exuding out into the atmosphere. And one day, the manager of the spa saw me, and she said, I wish that everybody on my staff was as hard of a worker as you are. You are the hardest working person on this staff. And the light bulb went off. And I realized that I was not in the true frequency of my aura, and I was living in this whole not self thing over here, and I needed to really double down into my experiment because I wasn't going to be doing that. And I knew, like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted when I go home, I'm all buzzed up, and that's when I go take my walks, and I tell my husband, hey, I'm not feeling like myself. But then when I realized that, when I put that piece in where, I'm amplifying all this sacral energy, and I'm being recognized as someone who is a hard worker, who can really sustain the work, and like a steam engine, like a generator, a manifesting generator who's really in the flow, that was like a huge revelation that I needed to continue to deepen and refine my experiment.
What a great story. That's amazing. I wonder how many times that's repeated itself for projectors.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the first time I'd heard that. Long before Human Design, I was in this small business group, and I got an award for the hardest working person in the group. Now, I had no idea about what it meant to be a projector. And if you look at this not self chart, you can see, that here's potentially a manifesting generator chart here with an undefined root center. I'm not looking at all the details, but that's what it looks like here. So all this pressure, and all this stuff, and work, willpower, thinking I had willpower, passion, all of that stuff. So, if you're a projector and you get an award for being the hardest working person, make sure that's the light bulb moment, okay?
So I think it's worth pointing out here, and you can find this information. I think Jovian provides so much free stuff. And if you want to educate yourself, there's a lot of good people out there on the internet. But one of the ways to know that you're not being you is to know the not self language. So if you hear it in your head, this is one of the ways I've done it. One of my favorite things to do, because I've been a medical professional all my adult life, is to answer other people's questions. Okay, that's the open head center, crown center. Answering everybody else's questions, answering questions that aren't important to me, that have nothing to do with myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the ajna, you're going to try the not self languages. I'm going to convince everybody I'm certain of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really know. I know all this stuff. See, I'm right. If you find yourself thinking that way or making decisions to convince people that you're correct, See, I'm open in the crown. That's the
At
top
the
triangle
top.
pointing
Yeah.
up. The next triangle pointing down is the ajna, and that that so my crown is completely open. Then the ajna is undefined. Then we hop down on the right side of the chart to the triangle pointing toward the middle is the solar plexus. That's avoiding truth and confrontation, right? Um, so that is a good one to really talk about for projectors, I believe, because half of the people out there of the population on the planet are defined there. They have an emotional wave that when we are undefined, it's not colored in, we amplify that emotional wave up to 10 times or more.
Right.
Now, if you think about an amplifier, a guitar player, everybody's heard of guitar players these by now, and they have amplifiers. And the idea is to make something louder. That's what an open center will do. But at some point, if you keep turning it up, it distorts the sound. So then I'm distorting that into I'm not going to speak my truth because I'm going to get smashed by everything I feel from them. Now, that's half the people I'm going to run into. So if you are undefined as a projector, that's in your emotional center, that's really something to pay attention to. Um, the other one is the square in the middle. There's two squares at the one at the very bottom and one above that. The one on the bottom is the root, and that's trying to get rid of pressure. That's trying to get things done. Oh, I got to hurry up and get this done before I, I don't know why, but hurry up. I get in the car. I just got to get wherever I'm going. I may have an hour to get there, but I'm going to try and get there in 5. It's like what? We talked about the projector rhythm. That's not a projector rhythm. That's my undefined center affecting my mind. These don't work separately, they work together. For
Mhm.
me, I'll try and answer other people's questions to get rid of the pressure or to avoid truth and confrontation. Or then I won't know when enough is enough. That's the sacral center just above it. And then the splenic center, which is defined for me, the triangle on the left side that's brown. Um, if that's white for you, then that's holding on to things that are they're longer than you should. That's holding on to things that aren't good for you. If you got piles of stuff all over your house, you probably got an open spleen center. Then the diamond in the middle is who's going to love me? I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what direction I'm going in. I don't know who I'm going to be.
If it's
So
white.
I'll try to be, yeah, go ahead. You have
If
that,
it's white.
Cindy, right?
Yeah.
If it's right. And then the throat center up there is looking for attention. How can I get attention? How can I get people to pay attention to me? And that really ties into a projector's wanting recognition. So now we're back to recognition,
Hmm.
which is
All the
uh,
way around the
rec-
circle.
yeah, recognizing your definition. And for me, it's the 4426. You can see the line going between the ego center.
Which
Uh,
is the little
the
red. I don't know if everybody can see my cursor, but I'm pointing at the little red diamond
little
and
red
then
diamond. Yeah.
and then
And
the brown triangle.
So if that's not defined, if it's white, the little red triangle for you, 70% of the people on the planet are undefined there. And this is always trying to prove that you have value. It's making decisions to prove you have value. And probably of all the undefined centers, this is the most problematic and painful of all of them. Um, so I would just want to interject here something that I've heard Ross say. Uh, he says the same thing about that it can be devastating for an individual to have an undefined ego center and try and prove that you have value. And so what he says is you have nothing to prove to anyone in this lifetime. Ever, at any moment, you have nothing to prove. And so I offered that if you're
If this,
undefined there.
yeah, if this red triangle is white on your chart,
Right.
um,
Not colored in. So
so
that was
if
the low side, right?
if somebody was recognizing you, how would you know it?
Mhm. Um,
By reading the chart
Yeah.
in a
Well,
very simplified way.
okay. So first of all, yeah, both of those channels are projected channels. So I have to be invited. I have to be invited to offer what I have. Somebody has to ask me. So what I do is I lead people uh, by recognizing patterns that don't work that will help us be healthier, help the tribe be healthier and successful in the future. So
And
what does
that's
that
your
mean?
4426 channel, right?
4426 and the 31-7. Okay, those work
From the
together.
G to the
And
throat. Yep.
yeah, and they're my definition. So when somebody says to me, you know, can something's not right here, but I really can't tell what it is. Can you see it? That recognizes that I can tell them that.
And that you can be very influential in that.
I,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I cannot be influential if I'm not invited. It's probably the biggest key for me is the uh, you spoke to the invitation earlier, which is the there's layers to the invitation, and without going into it deeply, um, getting married, are you going to have a baby? Are you going to change jobs? What job to go into? Are you going to move? Are you going to buy a house? Are you buying a car? These are life changing events. You need an invitation. But day to day, it's an invitation that has to do with an exchange of energy between you and the other, between the projector and the other. This is my experience that if people are inviting me to, they're asking me to bring forth myself.
Mhm.
That's the invitation
Yes.
on a day to day basis. That's not a life changer, but
Mm.
it is an energy conservation mechanism. And I see it as a kind of respect. They respect me and what I do,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I do all kinds of physical. Um, I teach qigong and tantra and martial arts and igasku and on and on and on, right? Um, but it really doesn't work unless somebody asks me.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
recognize that I can see the patterns within those places and I
Mhm.
can help guide them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know if that's really clear. Is that clear?
Is that clear?
Yeah,
If
what I'm.
anybody wants to chime in, um, I'm starting to get tired.
I was wondering about that. We've been here a long time.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit over the hour.
Mhm.
So, I know we haven't looked at your chart, Christy. I don't know. Do you want to take a look at it,
No, it's
or
not.
does anybody?
I think that the only thing that I would add to that, that the recognition part in terms of like somebody like what you just modeled, Doc, is like perfect for somebody's inviting out of you exactly what you have to offer, right? It's that recognition of you offering what's truly you, you know, because I think sometimes as projectors, like at least I'll speak for myself, you know, and especially early on in my experiment when I started to realize that recognition was a thing that I needed, right? That I needed to be in this recognition. Well, then you just like will be glad to be recognized for anything, even if it's not you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, oh wait, they recognize that I have something to offer here. So they must have recognized me, but they're recognizing like something that you're gonna have to be in your not self to provide, and then that's not gonna work either. It's not sustainable.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's like really knowing, and that's one of the things that both of you have really helped me in my experiment to like really dial in. It's not just knowing your chakra definition, but also your channel definitions, you know, and knowing those consistent energies that you know you can show up in. That's yours, you know, that's who you are, and knowing what you're providing, what your gifts are, you know.
So I'd like to just close it up this way. I really encourage everybody that this is all good. Um, uh, Design is such a seductive type of knowledge, and it's a fun mental toy. You can play with it forever. Okay, but the real power in it is the application in your life, and that is called in design your experiment. And what does that mean? It means that you take a little bit of something that we've talked about and you don't believe us. You don't believe anything we had to say, but you take it and you put it in your life and you see if it works for you and how it works for you. And in that way, it's self revelation. It reveals itself to you as a truth that you begin to trust and you can guide yourself with it. So we started out by saying, yes, we move toward 2027. The good news is uh, that there are tools here to help you navigate the bad news, which is it's probably not going to get any better. As a matter of fact, um, put on your seatbelt. I'm just saying. So, this idea of your inner authority and your strategy and how to apply them for yourself, um, and all of these little tools along the way help you to implement that. Recognition is one of those tools that helps you apply your strategy and your authority. As a projector, it's to wait for the invitation. And I hope we've clarified a little bit that recognition can help you determine on a day to day basis these energy exchange invitations that help you make the best of your energy. And it helps you apply your strategy. And in that, if you recognize your design, you know what your authority is, and you begin to recognize how your authority works, which is a whole different conversation. Okay, so if something hit home for you in this conversation that we had, uh, pick that one and play with it, and let us know how that worked for you. We really want to help you and support you to be yourself and to love what that is. Uh, so thanks for being with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Thank you, Doc. I can really feel your 4426 with that. It's just selling the tribe on the experiment. I
that's
love
right,
it.
6, and
And we have a little bit of uh, human design segue of an experiment for your experiment. Uh, we got inspired yesterday, and we would like to, if we've got enough people who are interested, because we're very much dialed in. If you watch some of our past conversations, we're very much dialed into the smallest doable increment. We would like to potentially offer a live Q&A follow-up on Zoom for anyone who maybe wants to bring their chart and get because a little guidance, and Christy and I joke at times about that, what you said, Doc, about how we're here to be one-on-one, and how we sort of facilitate a group is like one person, next person, right? So that's
right.
kind of what you would get if you would come to a live Q&A. We don't have it set up yet because we haven't yet been recognized with the energy that could be offered to move us forward in that. So what we're asking you to do, if this is somewhat interesting to you and you would like to participate in maybe a Q&A after this particular live stream, or maybe one down the line, is down in the description where this video is, you'll see a link where you can sign up to get on the email list. And that will also give you notifications of when the next live stream here on YouTube or Facebook is going to come up. And by judging from the number of people who sign up after this live stream, we will then decide whether or not we want to take that next step into doing the Q&A. Now, if you're already on the list, you're going to get an email just to ask you if you're interested, and you'll just email me back and let me know, and we'll take a look at the numbers in the next few days, the next week or so. I guess under a week, if we're going to set it up for 2 weeks from now, and see if this is our next step. So did I say that correctly? Did I cover that?
Yes.
Anything you want to add? Yeah. Yeah, and signing up does not obligate you to do anything, but we really would like to have you on the list anyway. It's grown quite a bit since the last time we've done one of these, and it's just a really efficient way to let you know, hey, the next one's coming. Here's the link to get on, so that you can save it and get reminded and all of that. So yes, TC, thanks for joining us. I'm sorry you missed most of it, but it will be in replay. So please do watch it again. And let's see, I just want to acknowledge a few people. Let's see, TC, thank you for coming. Wendy, thank you for all of your participation. Sabine, thanks. Shay, good to see you. Ellen had some comments about feeling like she's not recognized by her husband. And I that's a good one-to-one conversation, but I know and everybody's design is different, but I know from my own design, I struggled with that, with feeling like I wasn't recognized by my husband until I began to recognize myself. And, you know, so I'll just offer that to you, Wendy. Assuming, thank you. Paul, it's good to see you. Joe, Christina, thanks for coming. Erica, good to see you. I think I got everybody. Oh, Call Mansour from Germany. Logged in early. I don't know if you're still here, but thank you for coming. And Gloria, I don't know if you were watching, but I really appreciate your enthusiasm for getting on early. So, is that it? Do we feel complete?
I feel complete.
Great. Great. Well, I want to thank everybody who's here, and if you want to be informed of upcoming events like this, upcoming projector conversations, and you want to come and be a part of it, please do get on our list so that we can let you know that right up front through your email. And also, if you're interested in perhaps participating in a Zoom live Q&A in a couple of weeks on this topic, go ahead and get on the list too. And that's how we're going to judge whether or not we're going to do that. So thank you so much, everyone. And until the next time, be well. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Christy. It's always fun when we get together.
I know,
Take
right?
care.
Bye.
Bye.